Good morning and welcome to the virtual DRB meeting. If you are here to present on an item, please hit the raise your hand icon so you can be quickly identified so we can go ahead and check your audio and visual levels. Again, if you are presenting today, please hit the raise your hand icon so that we can test your audio and visual levels. Thank you. Good morning, Richard. Are you presenting today?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Good morning. Just give me one moment here and bring you over. All right. Okay, Richard, when you get a chance, please go ahead and turn on your camera so that we could make sure everything's working on your end for you.
Right.
All right, Richard, and what item are you here for today?
1311 15th Terrace. Do you need the DRB number?
Yes, I have it here. Okay, now, are you going to be running the PowerPoint on your end, or would you like for us to run it on our side?
Oh, you can go ahead and run it. I think that's how they did it last time. I didn't set it up because
Nope. No problem. We'll take care of it for you. So pretty much once they call your item, we'll bring you on this side of the board and you'll be able to present. All we ask is that you just indicate to us when to go to the next slide.
Okay, no problem.
Sounds good?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Good morning and welcome to the virtual design review board meeting today. If you're presenting on an item, please hit the raise your hand icon so that you can be quickly identified so that we can check your audio and visual. Again, if you are presenting today, please hit the raise your hand icon so that we can go ahead and check your audio and visual levels. Thank you. Good morning, Gonzalo.
Hi, good morning.
Are you presenting today?
Yes.
All right, just give me one moment here. Let me bring you over so we can check your visuals. And just give me one moment here. Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Michael Steffens.
Good morning.
Are you presenting today, Michael?
No, I'm on the board.
Okay, just give me one moment, okay?
Okay.
All right, Gonzalo, are you there? Gonzalo, please unmute yourself, and I'm going to send you a request to start your camera here. All right, Good morning, Gonzalo.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
All right, which item are you here presenting for today?
5800 Pine Tree Drive.
All right, and are you going to be running the PowerPoint on your end, or would you like for us to run it on our end for you?
I think you can do it. Yes.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and bring up your PowerPoint once they call your item. Just indicate to us when to go to the next slide, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Super.
Gonzalo? Good morning, Gonzalo. Gonzalo,
Yes,
did you submit your PowerPoint for this item?
yes,
Because you submitted it? Okay,
Yes.
just give me one,
Yes.
one moment. Okay, let me see. we can
If
pull
not,
it.
we have it here.
Okay, because I don't have it here. Just give me one moment. Let me just double check and make sure that we have it inside of your
Yeah,
submittal. Okay.
We sent it to Jessica on Friday.
Oh, okay, no worries. Just give me one moment, okay? Thank you.
Here you are.
Yeah, I'm off.
All right, so I'm in the
Good morning, and thank you for joining the DRB meeting today. If you are a presenter and you're presenting today, please hit the raise your hand icon so that you can be quickly identified so that we can go ahead and check your audio and visual levels. Again, if you're presenting, please hit the raise your hand icon so we can check your audio and visual levels. Thank you. Good morning. Welcome to the DRB meeting. We're going to be starting the meeting shortly. I would like to ask all my board members to go ahead and turn on your cameras so we can go ahead and get the meeting started so we can conduct your audio tests. Okay, so good morning to all my board members. Please turn on your cameras so we can go ahead and start the meeting.
We're going to be starting shortly. I would like to ask all my board members to go ahead and turn on your cameras so we can go ahead and get started. So,
All right, okay, I'm just gonna do a real quick sound check. All right. All right, I'm gonna first start off, say good morning. Good morning, James Murphy. Good morning, James.
Good morning.
Awesome. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning.
Awesome. Good morning, Sarah.
Morning.
Good morning, Nick.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Jim. Oh, I think you're on mute. Let me just send your request.
Good morning.
Awesome. All right. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jason.
Good morning.
All right. Seems like we have everyone here today. Okay, like we normally do. Jim, I'm going to go ahead and cue you up and then we can get the meeting starting. Is that all right?
Okay.
All right, sounds good. So I'm going to cue you up. You're going to be live. The countdown is going to start at 3. And upon 0, you're going to be live. All right? Stand by.
Okay.
And
Can I
3.
add, my video's not being allowed to be started. It's saying host won't allow. Oh, now it's saying allow you to. Okay, sorry.
That's all
There
right.
you go. Okay.
All right, stand by. We're going live in 3, 2.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the virtual Design Review Board meeting here in Miami Beach on August 4th, 2020. The agenda is not long today, but I'll get started with turning it over to James Murphy for the confirming the attendance and approval of minutes.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair, and all the DRB members. Welcome to the August 4th Design Review Board meeting. This is our regularly calendared meeting, beginning with fresh applications that have not been outright previously continued due to the COVID-19. Because of our efficiency, we were able to get through that backlog in the 3 July meetings that we had. Today's agenda, because this was originally August is typically a recess, both in City Commission and all of our land use boards. We don't have a lot of fresh new applications today. And those that we do are seeking a continuance, which I'll get to later. So we'll be hearing 2 items today, one of which has already been presented to this board for feedback and for revision. And the second one is a very simple application. I figure will be done pretty quickly today. I just got a message from Mr. Kriplin, who's at a field visit right now for a site project that he's working on. He said he'll be joining us in about 20 minutes, which we may very well be done by then.
If the chair's all right, I'd like to just read a couple of brief announcements.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Today's virtual meeting of the Design Review Board has been scheduled pursuant to Executive Order 20-69 of the Florida Governor, which suspends any Florida statute that requires a quorum to be present in person or requires a local government body to meet at a specific public place and permits local government bodies to use communications media technology like Zoom. In order to participate in today's meeting, members of the public can dial 1-888-475-4499 and enter the webinar ID, which is 833-6850-9133#, or the public can log in directly to the Zoom app and enter the webinar ID, which again is 833-6850-9133. Members of the public wishing to speak on an item must click the raise hand icon if they're using the Zoom app, or press *9 on their phones to raise their hand. Members of the public who do not have access to a computer and wish to provide testimony or submit evidence in support of or opposition to an item, scheduled to be heard today can appear in person at the Miami Beach Convention Center at 1901 Convention Center Drive through the Washington Avenue entrance in Art Deco room 229, at which location access to a computer will be provided. On each quasi-judicial application today, I'll swear in each presenter or member of the public wishing to speak. I'll be keeping time at today's meeting. Applicants will have 10 minutes each, and members of the public will have 2 minutes each. Next, I'll read the city's notice regarding lobbyist registration. If you're appearing on behalf of a business, a corporation, or another person, you need to register as a lobbyist with the city clerk's office. If you haven't registered yet, you should register before you speak to the board. You don't have to register as a lobbyist if you're speaking only on your own behalf and not any other party, or if you're testifying as an expert witness, providing only scientific, technical, or other specialized information or testimony in this public meeting, or if you're appearing as a representative of a neighborhood association without any compensation or reimbursement for your appearance to express support of or opposition to any item. Expert witnesses and representatives of neighborhood associations shall, prior to appearing, disclose in writing to the city clerk their name, address, and the principal on whose behalf they're communicating. If you're an architect, attorney, or employee representing an applicant or an objector, you must register as a lobbyist. These rules apply whether you're appearing in favor of or against an item, or encouraging or arguing against its passage, defeat, modification, or continuance. And before I turn it back over to staff, I'd just like to swear in any members of staff will be testifying today. So please state on the record whether you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You're on mute.
I do.
Thank you, James.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Nick. James, you want to pick up from here? Any requests for extensions of time?
Sure thing. I'm just going to go through a quick attendance check. Mr. Bonner, you're present. Mr. Sheldon? I don't see him present yet. I'll see if we could get someone to get in touch with him. Mr. Hagopian, I saw you. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. You look really nice today, James, with your boutonniere and your flowered shirt.
Wow, thank you. Mr. Diffenderfer.
You're not out looking for a new job, are you?
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning. Ms. Giller Nelson?
Morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Hanging in there.
Great. Mr. Steffens?
I'm here.
Okay, and then Mr. Kriplin, as I mentioned, will be joining us shortly. We do have 2 items today, both of which have variances. As this board knows, applications that contain variances need to have a separate motion, and that motion needs 5 members to be vote in favor of any application. I don't necessarily see any controversy with either of these applications. But Jim, I'll defer to you if you would like to wait for Mr. Kriplin to join us. Maybe also allow the applicants to maybe stall until we get another board member. I know that our staff Jessica is probably trying to contact Mr. Sheldon now.
Yeah, I agree, James. I think it'd be more appropriate to wait and allow a proper number of people to hear it if they need to have a variance. So let's wait. And could someone call, maybe Jessica call Marsh to see how far he really is away?
Okay.
I'll give them a call.
Thank you, Jessica. In the meantime, we do have some continuances and approval of minutes, which will take action by this board. Additionally, with the departure of Marsh at the end of this meeting, we really should appoint a vice chair in the event that Mr. Bodner isn't present or wishes to pass the gavel in order to make a motion. So those are all items that we could do while we're waiting for the other attendees to arrive, if that's okay with the chair.
Yeah, let's start with the minutes. Thank you.
Okay, great. So the after action today that we need approval for is for the July 22nd, 2020 meeting. That could be found on page 4 of the distributed agenda package for those that needed to review this.
And just for the record, the agenda reads an inaccurate date. It should say July 22nd.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Steffens. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Giller. And do a roll. Mr. Hagopian,
Yes.
Mr. Diffenderfer,
Yes.
Mr. Steffens,
Yes.
Ms. Giller Nelson,
Yes.
and Mr. Bodnar.
Yes.
Minutes are approved. Next, we have a few continuances. The first is item number 2, which is DRB file 19-0468. This is 4880 Pine Tree Drive. This application was before this board on 2 separate occasions and continued. In the July meeting, the application presented again and still not to the satisfaction to this board. So the board continued the item to the August hearing, giving the applicant a very short window to produce the modifications and revisions, which they were unfortunately not able to meet. So there are no revised plans. So staff is moving this item to the September 1st DRB meeting.
James, do we need to vote on this?
We do need to open it to the public. We've let affected property, we've let interested party members with this application aware of the continuance, but we do need to open it for the public as well as make a motion to continue it.
Okay, then I would like to open it to any comments from the public who wishes to speak at this time. Please raise your hand. I see no one. So I'm going to close the public portion of the meeting and turn it over to the board for a vote.
I'll make a motion to approve the continuance.
Okay, and for clarity, that's to the September 1st meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sarah. I'll do a call. Mr. Hagopian,
Yes.
Mr. Diffenderfer,
Yes.
Ms. Giller Nelson,
Yes.
Mr. Steffens,
Yes.
and Mr. Bodnar.
Yes.
Thank you. The next item is DRB file, it's item 3, and that's DRB file 20-0549. This is 1733 to 1759 Purdy Avenue and 1724 through 1752 Bay Road. This is a modification to a previously approved mixed-use project. I have a letter from the applicant's attorney, Ms. Tracy Slavens, requesting a continuance to the November 3rd, 2020 hearing date. That does fall within the allowable threshold for a continuance without a renotice. Staff is supportive of the continuance. We should open it to the public.
Anyone from the public wishes to speak, please raise your hand or speak up. I see no one. Oh, we have a Danny Martin.
Yes, can
Danny?
you hear me? Yes, can you hear
Yes,
me?
we can hear you. Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to speak. Yes, that's fine. I just
Swear 'em in.
wanted to,
Nick,
go ahead.
Nick, do you need to swear him in?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Could you state on the record whether you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Okay, thanks. You can go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to be noted on record that I did try to raise my hand twice during the continuance for 4880 Pine Tree Drive. Yes, yet the system did not note my raising of the hand until now. So I'm assuming there's some type of lag time in the system, but it is not recognizing the public raising hands at the time that you are asking us to raise our hands.
Do you wish to make a public statement then concerning the matter?
That was it.
That was my statement. Did you hear it?
That was the only statement. I did hear it, yes.
Okay, that's all. I don't have anything relative to the one that you're hearing right now or the other one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Duly noted. James,
Okay,
I believe I'm
So-
I'm closing it. I'm closing the public portion and turning over to the board for comment and a vote.
I'll make a motion to approve the continuance.
okay.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Steffens. That was to the November 3rd meeting, and that was seconded by Scott. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now for a vote, Mr. Hagopian,
Yes.
Ms. Giller Nelson,
Yes.
Mr. Diffenderfer,
Yes.
Mr. Steffens,
Yes.
and Mr. Bodnar.
Yes.
Great. Okay. The next item is item number 4. This is DRB file 20-0534. This is 5011 Pine Tree Drive. This would have been our our first new application seeking to be heard today. Due to the travel instances and the applicant was aware that we were backlogged so much, they didn't think that they would be able to present in time. When they sought the continuance, we had yet to continue scheduling 3 separate July meetings. In any case, we do have a request in writing to continue the item to the September 1st hearing date. Staff is fully supportive of the application for continuance.
I want to turn over to the public for comment. Allow a little lag time here. I see no one, so I'm going to close the public portion and turn it over to the board for comment and a vote.
I'll make
a motion to.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to continue.
I'll second.
So to clarify, that was to next month's September 1st meeting. The motion was made by Scott, seconded by Michael. We'll do a roll call. Mr. Hagopian,
Yes.
Ms. Giller Nelson,
Yes.
Mr. Steffens,
Yes.
Mr. Diffenderfer,
Yes.
and Mr. Bodnar.
Yes.
Okay. Moving along, we have item 5, which is DRB file 19-0462, 6961 through 6985 Abbott Avenue, 300 through 326 71st Street, and 6972 Harding Avenue. This application was presented in one of our virtual meetings and continued. Just saw your email, and was continued to the July meeting, at which time the applicants did not sufficiently address the board comments or staff concerns. They're working to revisiting the site plan. To the board's memory, this is the project that contains the 2 contributing buildings in North Beach on 71st Street, both the City National 6-story office building as well as a 3-story Gidney building. There was significant ground floor concerns addressed by staff as well from the planning department, as well as from the transportation division. The applicant is seeking to overhaul that site plan design to become move towards alignment with staff's direction. So I have a request to continue the item to the November 3rd meeting.
I think that's positive. May I open this up to the public for any comment? Let me take a look. Raise your hand, please. I see no one, so I'm going to close the public portion and turn over the board for comment and a vote.
I'll make a motion to continue this item.
Mr. So we have a motion by Mr. Steffens. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jason. I'll do a roll call. Mr. Diffenderfer,
Yes.
Ms. Giller Nelson,
Yes.
Mr. Steffens,
Yes.
Mr. Hagopian,
Yes.
and Mr. Bodnar.
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully we'll see that in November and be able to recommend positively on that. The next item is also would have been a new application. It's item number 8. It's DRB 20-0550, 8701 Collins Avenue. This is the northernmost parcel in the city of Miami Beach city limits. They're seeking a 1-month continuance to the September 1st hearing date. Staff is supportive of the recommendation. Staff is supportive of the request to continue the item to September.
Okay, so I'd like to open it to the public for any comment. Please raise your hand. I have
Well,
a
it looks like
Marsh
Marsh has joined.
Criplin. Okay, I see no one from the public, so I'm closing the public portion of the meeting and turning over board for comment and a vote.
I'll make a motion to continue this item.
I will second that motion.
Good morning, Marsh. Good to see you. So we had a motion to continue to September 1st, seconded by Mr. Criplin. I'm going to do a vote. Mr. Hagopian,
Yes.
Mr. Diffenderfer,
Yes.
Ms. Giller Nelson,
Yes.
Mr. Steffens,
Yes.
Mr. Criplin,
Yes.
and Mr. Bodnar.
Yes.
I understand that Sam will be joining us in about 10 minutes. We now have 6 members present. Marsh, you missed us going through a bunch of continuances, leaving us with only 2 items to be discussed today. So I really do appreciate you rushing over after your field visit. I hope that went positively.
And it went, thank you. I'm sorry that it jumped in the way of this at the last minute, but it could not be helped, unfortunately. Can you go over, please, which items were continued?
I will. So we had item number 2, which is DRB 19-0468, 4880 Pine Tree Drive. That's that single family home that's been seen by this board on 2 separate occasions. They were last presented in July, and the board did not feel that their revisions since the February meeting sufficiently addressed their concerns, the neighbor concerns, or staff direction. So they sought a 1-month continuance. That only gave them a very short period to turn around the drawings, and they failed to meet that deadline. So that item is continued to the September meeting next month. We also have a project on Purdy Avenue, which is a modification to a previously approved project by this board, DRB 20-0549. That item is being continued to the November 3rd hearing date. That was item 3.
And that they wanted to add height to that one, correct?
They were seeking a variance for height. That's correct. The next item is seeking a continuance, was a new application, DRB 20-0534, 5011 Pine Tree Drive. That's seeking a 1-month continuance to September. Little sneak peek on that project. This is the Collins Estate, very visible from Collins Avenue. It's on Indian Creek Canal. This is a pretty exciting project about a retention of a architecturally significant structure and substantial additions to it. That was item 4. Moving on, we have one of the projects in North Beach on 71st Street, DRB 19-0462. This is the lot aggregation that contains 2 architecturally significant buildings on 71st Street, a 6-story City National building. It's adjacent 3-story Gidney building. the incorporation and adaptive reuse of those two buildings and a new tower behind it. That's being continued to the November 3rd meeting. We believe that we're making a little progress with the development and the architectural team on board on that item. And they're moving their site plan to be in alignment with both the Transportation Division and Planning Department's recommendation. So that's a positive move. That's to the November 3rd meeting. And then we have 8701 Collins Avenue, DRB 20-0550. That's the newly completed Renzo Piano building in the northernmost parcel of the city of Miami Beach. They were seeking the setback variance for the installation of an art piece in the front yard. That's being continued to the September 1st meeting. And that brings us to the agenda for presentation today.
James, I'm sorry to interrupt. What in order not to forget, the last remaining item on the agenda should be that we elect the vice chair to replace Marsh.
What was that, Jim?
I just want to recommend that we put on the agenda as the final item, the an election of the new vice chair to replace Marsh.
You got it. Jim, did you get that link for the plans?
Yes, I thank you. I have it.
Okay, super. So as I mentioned, both of these items that are active for presentation today contains variances as part of their application, which will require two distinct motions. One for approval or denial of the variance portion of the application, and the next being for the design review. Staff is supportive of both variances portions of the applications and both of them active items today. We have 6 board members present, which is enough quorum for us to make motions on both the design review, which requires 4/7 vote, and the variance, which requires 5/7 vote. So maybe in order for everyone to be able to enjoy the day, we could start moving on the items.
Just a note, James, Sam was just joined us a few minutes ago, so I think we have full 7 board members here.
Oh, perfect.
Welcome, Sam.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Sam.
Hey, good morning.
Hello.
Mr. Sheldon, you just missed some of the housekeeping work of doing some continuances and moving the approval of the after action. So you're just in time.
Thanks, James. I actually did get to catch a little of it. So
Okay, great. I hope you're doing well.
yeah, I'm joining you from vacation in Lake Country, Georgia.
Oh, well, beautiful. I was in Georgia not too long ago. And then I watched last night Tybee Island getting hit by the storm that we were very fortunate that passed us. So, or Tybee Island, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I think it's Tybee. Anyway, so if the applicant is ready, I'll bring the first item to be discussed today is DRB file 19-0430. This is 1311 15th Terrace. This item recommendation can be found on page 48 of the distributed agenda package. And as you recall, this item was part of the June 2nd, 2020 Design Review Board virtual discussion meeting. The item was continued to the July 7th meeting at the request of the applicant, again, allowing a very short turnover for revised plans that the applicant was unable to meet. So staff recommended then that the item be continued to the today's hearing date. The applicant adjusted the site plan to come up with alternative design solution pertaining to the variance. As the board may remember, they were originally seeking setback relief for both side property lines for the entirety of the building. After robust discussion by this board and coming from direction that the board would be comfortable granting the variance for the ground floor only in order to accommodate the parking that's required. Now, this is an RM1 zone property in the West Avenue Overlay District. The RM1 properties have parking relief and I should say lots that are greater than 65 feet in width have a parking requirement as well as increased setback. Although this is part of a historical plat that was originally platted with 50-foot wide frontages, somewhere in its timeline, the applicant, the parcel obtained half of the neighboring property, bringing its lot width to 75 feet in width, thus requiring increased setbacks and a parking requirement. Staff now is very supportive of the application for the variance that is restricted to the ground floor only and is supportive of the design inclusive of all of the waivers.
And
Okay.
before we hear from the applicant, I'd like to swear in any members of the team who will be testifying today. So can you state whether you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And that's for the applicant.
Richard, you're muted.
Good morning, everyone.
Can you state whether you so swear?
Oh, I swear.
Thank you. You have 10 minutes for your presentation.
Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. Thank you again for allowing us the time to speak to you regarding this proposal. As James mentioned, we've gone ahead and made revisions to reflect our previous conversations, and we're really excited to show you what we've come up with. So what we have done is, in terms of the aesthetics of the project remains very much the same as you had previously seen. The main drivers of the proposal are pretty open and permeable ground level with vertical gardens that provide a semi-separation between neighboring properties, as well as connecting the property with the landscape and the street frontage. So what we've done is we've reduced the setbacks and we've accommodated the floor plans to satisfy the setbacks that were asked for, with the exception of the back portion, the north side of the ground level, just to satisfy for required parking of the property. Aside from this, some of the comments that we received were potentially adding skylights to add more light into the project and accentuate the stairs, as well as skylights in the back we've added, and just planters also at the top level to facilitate the growth of greenery at the top level. So that's what we've done, and we're really excited with the outcome and to hear your comments on it.
Does that complete your presentation?
Yeah, I don't see the presentation on my screen, but I do know that you have the documents, which is fine. I don't think that I have much more to say. The revisions were pretty straightforward. Setback revisions, adding up skylights and greenery to facilitate the vertical gardens. I did have a conversation with our landscape architect, and he felt comfortable that the steel cables would work. I'm not sure whether he included what type of planting he would propose for it, but that's something that I would make sure that moving on with construction documentation, if we are granted the waiver, to make sure that it's done in such a way that it's pleasing to the elevation and it will work with the landscape.
Okay, thank you. I want to turn it over to the public now for any comments. Please raise your hand. Give a moment here.
And while we wait for the public, do any board members have any ex parte communications to disclose?
I did do a site visit.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
Okay, I'm closing it to the public. I see no one who wants to speak, so I'm going to turn over to the board for comment.
I'll start.
I'm sorry. Marsh had his hand up and I just caught it. Sorry.
All right, Sarah can go.
Sarah?
Okay, thanks. Well, I was sick when this was discussed initially, and I was just wondering if the discussion included more about the design, or are we just talking about the variances?
Well, I think anything's open for discussion. So go ahead and if you have comments about the design, please do.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I am. So like I said, I did a site visit because this seemed so different than what's existing in the neighborhood. And my only concern, I like the hanging gardens. I think there's some really nice elements to this design. I'm a little concerned by the wooden, I guess it's the privacy fence. It's very tall, and it sort of looks like you've just sort of wrapped the building in a wooden fence. You know, and there's also no relationship, and I think I had read in one of the details that that the mullions are going to be bronze because they look black in the picture that I have. And my point too is that there's no real relationship between this wood privacy fence and any other part of the building. So it needs a bit of cohesion. It also looks just like you plopped a building on top of a wooden fence. And I was wondering what my other board members had to say about that.
Marsh?
I think that Sarah's point is valid, especially when you look at the final page rendering. And I would hope Richard and his group would work on the integration more of that fence into the architectural elements or vice versa. And I'm sure they would be amenable to that because Richard's always a pretty good team player. In terms of landscape, I would like to remind the team to please make sure they look at the associated or adjacent street tree planting and best to be cohesive with that. And Richard's also right, their landscape plans have not quite caught up. They don't have any vines. So they'll need to work on that with staff when they get into permitting. And then part of that also would be to ensure that they've got irrigation, not only where the vines are coming up at ground level, but also some allowances for irrigation where the planters are at the third floor or fourth floor, whatever they're calling that one. There are planters up there as well. They need to be irrigated so that we don't end up with a bunch of dry plant material. Those would be my comments.
Thank you, Marsh. Michael?
I had a comment about that wood screen at the front also. It seems there's a door in that wood screen in front of the door to the unit. And I don't see that on the first level plan. And I don't see much of a landing there where you'd be able to open that door. It seems like a bit of a problem.
Yeah, in our site plan, our intention there is to have a landing at that door. I would have to go in there and detail it further to clarify, but definitely you're correct that there should be a suitable landing there at the entrance of that breezeway.
So maybe rendering that somehow as a door would help the articulation of that wooden wall. I know you're just trying to sort of blend it in and make it disappear, but I would think you'd want to let people know that there's actually a door there.
An entrance, correct. Yeah, that's true. That's a fair point. We would have to zoom in there and do something a little bit more articulated and more special to indicate main entry to the property.
Maybe that
Anything
would
else, Michael?
Sarah's concerns.
Sarah, do you want to speak?
I have other things to say, but if there's anybody else that wants to continue that, it's fine.
Sure.
Jason?
I'll say
or
one.
Marsh?
I'll say one more thing about landing, fence, configuration. Richard, I think part of what will make that successful is also making sure that the landscape associated with those entry landings and those big front wooden gates is justifies that. Again, making that special. Right now, all that's in there is a low ground cover. I think that needs to have a little more height and a little more density. The other thing that you're going to need to pay pretty close attention to is as you're coming up with your stairs, which are essentially hovering over the landscape, is handling the ground plane beneath that to ensure that you've got some sort of a stone mulch or some sort of a shade tolerant plant underneath there that will be successful. And I think you may have trouble with the ornamental peanut trying to tuck it in under those floating stairs, as it's a little bit more of a sun lover, but just review that. I think entry sequence with your landscape architect as you look at your landing and those big gates would be ideal.
Yes, I think as a whole, because the way that we've developed the project, landscape is such a big part of it. And as I mentioned before, I did have a conversation with our landscape architect concerning the cables, concerning a potential, and I did ask for him to add what plantings he would propose for the vertical gardens. And then upon submitting, I realized that I thought maybe I didn't see it, but I didn't think I did. So most definitely the next step for this project would be to have a really thorough inclusion of and conversation about the landscape to make sure that all these things are satisfied. And it's also a fair point that because of the landscape being so important, to utilize that to also further accentuate the entry and the procession into the units.
Right, and again, if I look at their planting plan, they plant right up to the edge of where the floating steps are. So there needs to be coordination because that's really a three-dimensional element that needs to be created into the planting.
Correct.
Is that it, Marsh?
Yes, sir. I'm done.
Thank you. Jason.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. And thank you to the applicant for addressing many of the concerns that we had previously about the setbacks. I guess, can the applicant, and Richard, can you give a little bit more explanation about just, you're asking for a big increase in the lot coverage. And I guess, because of that partly is why you're here. Can you give me a little bit more information about, is this just so that you can get the number of units in there, the 4 units, or is there no other way to reduce that overall lot coverage?
I think there might be ways. I noticed when we revised the site plan, a lot of it is the pavers that lead to the recycling areas and the individual entries. So I think I could definitely go back to that site plan and maybe reduce the entry steps and the width of the sides that lead to the recycling areas and see where that puts me.
And I would definitely kind of echoing a little bit of Sarah's concern about the wood fence. I think whether it's something we look at again or you work with staff on, I think the articulation of how that's actually manifested and built. I know you're saying like 4-inch to 6-inch, and there's obviously spacing, but these are like really big, tall, what I would assume would still remain wood. It says wood in the drawings, but of course I know that these could become aluminum with a wood film on it. It could become a lot of different things if we don't put something in the motion. But to think that these are like 6-inch by 6-inch, 13 to 20 foot, depending on where the post is, high wood posts, I'm not really sure that's even possible to happen without a substantial structural armature, and what that ends up looking like, I think won't really end up looking like rendering. That's one of my concerns here with that, especially since it's such a big element that you've added to create a little softness to the base of this this building, which is pretty much, as you can see from the side elevations, just kind of like a white. It's kind of a solid white cube certainly on the 2 sides.
Yeah, I think it's a fair concern. In fact, I wondered if it would help the elevation to lower these wood members and just going back to maybe a glass railing at the second level. And the sides could definitely be articulated further with more windows, and so to break the read of a cube. I would potentially go back to both the architecturals and the renderings and see what it would be like if we substantially reduce the height of that component. And maybe look at what it would look like if it were glass or some kind of steel fencing, steel handrails.
Maybe those units, those elements become a little more playful vertically, and you play with the height, but also maybe the depth, maybe the size of them. I mean, treat it more like an art wall screen instead of just a screen.
Sarah? Sarah, your hand is up.
Sorry, I think I need more coffee. I also wanted to echo Jason's concerns about the increase in the amount of land being used. That was also a really big, that was a red flag for me as well. I wasn't quite sure why that was necessary. I also, when I did do the site visit, the adjacent properties have balconies facing into this property too. So, you know, I also had some serious reservations about increasing, you know, the usable space of the property. So, and I do like Marcia's idea about with the screen to come up with some sort of more artistic, because whether if you just lower the height, it's still going to be these vertical slats that resemble a wooden fence. So, you know, something along those lines. I do agree that it needs to be worked through a little, and the density of the property, I think, needs to adhere to the zoning regulations.
Anyone else?
Sorry, that is a great point, and the space there, I'll definitely go back and look at the surface for the coverage, and as far as that fencing, the space is there from side to side and overhang too, and I look at it in a much more detailed way and see what could be done for it to read more at ground level as a piece of art. That people can experience when they walk up to the property.
Thank you. I also had a thought too about, I really like the hanging garden element. And I don't know if this is the purview of this board or whatever. I am a little bit concerned about upkeep and maintenance of those. You know, we see them at the PAM building and they're lovely, but the last time I was there, they were looking a little straggly. So I don't know what we or what the planning board, you know, can do, but that is just a concern, because when these are, you know, fully grown in, it's going to be beautiful. But if they're not maintained appropriately, it's just going to be some wires in front of the building.
So Sarah, a lot of that, first and foremost, you got to pick the right plant. And I'm hopeful that, and I believe that in urban forestry planning and landscape, during the review of the permit drawings, they'll be able to work with the landscape architect if they feel there's an issue with that. But almost equally importantly is irrigation. Why I said you have to make sure that those upper planters are irrigated as well as the ground planters. And if you have the water source, it's amazing what the plants will do with it. But without that water source, yes, we are at risk of seeing just bare wires. So hopefully that'll get them headed in the right direction.
Yes, I'll definitely include that into my list, my thorough list to sit with our landscape architect, and as you mentioned, if granted, as we progress through permitting, to work with the city to make sure that what is developed satisfies these items, and of course our ultimately our goal is to produce something beautiful that will add to the community, not something that will feel drab and unattended. That definitely is not the goal. So we would do everything in our power to avoid that from happening.
Anyone else?
No, may I echo what everybody says about I echo what everybody else says about the fence, but I have to say that like the first rendering that was kind of from an angle where the columns were more prominent made the fence really look like it recessed back more. And I don't know, just focus on the same page with the fence. That's my big thing.
My only few thoughts is I actually like the slats below, but I think there's a hierarchy or proportion like Marsh suggested in size or proportions or depth alternating. But I think it's a good detail, a good touch. The other thing though is Sarah made the point about height. And I think if he were to step back a little on the trellis portion of the facade, not all the way back, but because I do think it's a good crown for the building, but maybe not come all the way forward the way it's shown now.
Okay. So you're saying the line of the fence, maybe push it back a little further?
No,
No, I was speaking about the trellis, the roof trellis. The
yes,
top of the building.
Okay,
if
got
it
it.
could go a third of the
think,
way back, I think it would reduce the sight line significantly. Right now, I feel like it's almost projecting.
It's a little gloomy, isn't it?
Yep. Anyone else? James, could you enumerate briefly the variances that are being requested?
Sure thing. So the variances are a trinity of them, and that's because they're seeking relief from the both side setbacks and then consequently some of the sides. So because they're seeking relief from both the north and the south at 2.5 feet each, they need to seek relief of the sum of the side, which would be the maximum that was be required, which is 10 on each side for 20. So they're seeking 7.5 on each side for a total of 15 from the sum of the sides. And previously that was going all the way up the height of 50 feet. And now it's just at that ground level, which is there to screen the parking. And
all
then,
right.
I'm sorry. And then the next is the lot coverage, but that's not a variance, that's a waiver. And that probably is fundamentally linked with the ground floor footprint being seeking relief from.
Okay, thank you.
I would move to approve the variance and waiver as presented by the applicant, as well as include friendly amendment with respect to the landscaping, coordination of street tree, inclusion of irrigation at all levels to ensure that the vine and green walls are successful to the best of their ability. A further study of the entry sequence and the wraparound wood fence, both in height, density, and general appearance. I think, is that it, everybody? Is there anything else?
Study the roof.
I have the setback trellis at the rooftop, and then perhaps this board wants to tie them more strongly to the materiality of this ground floor component.
Correct. So additionally, the further study of the arbor element across the top of the roof terraces, and a friendly amendment agreement that they will not change the materiality of the fence from wood to a different material over the course of the project.
Definitely not our fair point that we would seek, and we want to make sure that this fence and the wood material works well with the proposal, but definitely is something that we would want to keep. We definitely don't want something cold and detached from the environment. So I will look very closely into this to, as you just mentioned, to possibly explore the possibility of the trellises being the same material, bringing it all together a little bit more cohesively, but definitely keeping the wood.
Just to give the development team a little latitude, perhaps we can expand the limitation of the material to also the artificial woods that we see, the IP, the resista. Jason, I don't know if you're comfortable with that.
I mean, I guess then you just need to like qualify it, right? Because there's a lot of different artificial woods, I suppose. I mean, Ipe is, that'd be great because that's a real wood, but any other synthetic product, I mean, they could specify a Trex, and I think that looks like crap, but because it's very plasticky. So I mean, to me, it would be something, I don't know if you just want to keep it as a natural wood. That's probably the best way.
I would prefer to keep it with a natural wood, but I'm not opposed to the applicant working with staff if staff's.
Yeah, to that I'll add that actually our company does work a lot with eBay, so that is a great suggestion, and it's something that we could probably hold on to as the primary intention. And as Marsh just said, we would focus on keeping that as the option. And if for any reason, anything else that we might entertain or we should look at, definitely we would do it closely with the staff at the city to make sure that it's something that works for all the parties involved.
Is staff amenable to that?
Sure.
We need a second.
I will second.
Okay, I'll do a roll. Mr. Hagopian?
Yes.
Mr. Diffenderfer?
Yes.
Ms. Giller-Nelson?
Does the motion include accepting the waiver to increase the lot coverage?
Marsh's motion did include the waiver.
Okay, nay.
Mr. Steffens?
Yes.
Mr. Kriplin?
Yes.
Mr. Sheldon?
Yes.
And Mr. Bodnar?
Yes.
So the design passes 6-1.
Thank you, everyone. And like I said before, I think we're at this point emotionally tied to the project. We've been working on it along with James and staff for a little bit. And it's our goal to develop it in a way that it adds to the community. So we will definitely zero in and focus on the design of this fence so that it's actually it becomes something that adds to the project, and it's sort of a memory point for anybody that walked by the building. Along with that, I will look very closely to the lot coverage to reduce it as much as possible. Because I did notice one of the comments that we got from the first few submittals was to add access to the pavers to access the recycling areas, and I noticed that it made it a little higher. So, and all the transit around the lot, I'll make sure that it gets reduced as much as possible, because our goal is for this project to be as lush as possible. So to kind of push it away from it becoming a glass box. So you have my commitment to really develop the landscape and the design of the ground level to push the project further.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Richard. Congratulations.
So
Thank
we
you
still,
very much.
Jim, we still have the variances.
Okay.
I included those in my motion, I believe.
Yes, you did.
Okay. Well,
Did
we
it
have to have
include the design?
we have to have them separate, Marsh. So now I'll have you repeat your motion to approve the variances.
I
If that's
move
okay.
to approve the variances for 1311 15th Terrace as presented by the applicant for the ground floor only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I'll do a call. Mr. Sheldon?
Yes.
Mr. Hagopian?
Yes.
Mr. Diffenderfer?
Yes.
Ms. Giller-Nelson?
Yes.
This is for the variances. Mr. Kriplin?
Yes.
Mr. Steffens?
Yes.
And Mr. Bodnar?
Yes.
Variances passed 7-0. Okay, Richard. Thank you. I think he left already. Okay, the next item is DRB file 19-0494, 5800 Pine Tree Drive. This can be found on page 66 of the distributed agenda package. An application has been filed requesting design review approval for the construction of a second floor addition to an existing pre-1942 architecturally significant single-family residence, including a variance to reduce the required rear setback. This is a little exciting and different for this board to review because typically you're about to see something that usually happens behind the scenes, meaning at a staff level review. In 2014, when the single-family home regulations were re-examined to begin to contain what was being perceived as these oversized single-family regulations, and certain amendments were made to the LDRs, most notably removing the lot coverage and unit size waiver powers by this board. The planning department also created another amendment to the LDRs, which began to be affectionately referred to as the incentive ordinance. So while we amended the regulations for new construction for single-family homes, we also created incentives for those property owners wishing to substantially retain, preserve, and build onto qualifying pre-1966 architecturally significant homes. And what that means is those properties that were built on in a compatible and sensitive manner, certain zoning allowances were given. So increased lot coverage, increased unit size, relaxation of setbacks, all at the administrative level upon our review. So in this instance, we have a 1928 two-story single-family home that the applicant formally requested a determination of architectural significance, which is not a formal determination of a historic designation. I don't know why I'm getting feedback. So on May 12, 2020, staff went to the site and determined that the property does qualify for those zoning incentives and it would be considered architecturally significant. The reason why the applicant went ahead to do this is because their modest increase, it's a 280 square foot second floor addition on an existing one-story portion, would put the unit size over the 50% threshold. However, if the applicant did the formal determination and if that property became formally determined to be architecturally significant, that unit size limitation goes from 50% to 60%. So the applicant's 280 square foot addition results in a 53% unit size, which was administratively able to be reviewed and not requiring a variance. However, the corner property for zoning purposes realized that that interior side property line for this property is considered the rear and not the interior side. Therefore, to build upon the existing footprint of the ground floor one story requires a variance from the rear setback. A rear setback for an architecturally significant pre-42 home is 15 feet. The applicant is seeking relief of 10 feet and 11 inches so that they can build the second floor addition on top of the existing ground floor element. Staff is fully supportive of the application and recommends approval with one minor modification to a window on the new addition.
Okay.
And Gonzalo, before you start your presentation, I'd like to swear you in. Can you state whether you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony to this board? I think you might be on mute.
Yes, no, I'm here. Yes, I do. I swear.
Thank you. You have 10 minutes for your presentation.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, James, for your presentation. I think was very, very clear. I don't know if you are going to share the presentation or do I need to put it? Thank you. Next one, please. So the property is located on the corner of 58 Pine Tree Drive, and it's as mentioned, was built on 1928. And next one, please. Okay, so this is Pine Tree Drive. This is the front of the house, located front of the house, I'm sorry. This is 58th Street. So our addition is located on this area. This is the existing garage right now. So our addition, so this is the exterior picture, I'm sorry. This is the elevation facing Pine Tree Drive. Next one, please. These are the elevation facing 58th Street. On the left side, you can see here, this is the existing second floor studio that we have over the existing garage right now. Next one, please. So this is the garage, and over the garage, we have a terrace with the office on top. Next one, please. This is the rear yard where we are not conforming. Next one. So the variance reduced by 10 feet 2 inches, the minimum rear yard setback of 15 feet to allow the construction of a second floor addition to an existing 2-story home with the rear yard setback of 4 feet 10 inches. So here you can see that this is our existing condition. The green line is the 15 foot required. Next one, please. So in terms of the lot coverage, we are on the left side here. You can see that we are okay. In the right side, you can see that our green area, of course, in the rear side, we are not conforming. Next one, please. Next one, please. Okay, so this is the existing first floor plan. So here you can see on the left side, the existing garage. And yeah, that also you can see that, that here the existing condition with the 15 feet setback. Next one, please. So the second floor over the existing garage, we have a terrace. So in this area, it's where we are planning to do the addition. So the addition is an extension of existing bedroom home office that we have right now here with the bathroom. So the addition is just extending the existing area. We're not providing an extra bathroom. It's just an extension of the room. Next one. this is the existing elevations, and I think something happened with our presentation by a mistake. I would like to show you, I don't know if you can see it here better. So this is the proposed elevation, the west elevation. So here, this is the elevation that is gonna face our neighbor. And this is the window that you are recommend us to be a little bit higher. Right now, this is the top of the, show you here, the top of the bottom of the tie beam. So actually it's a very high window right now. Okay. I'm sorry, just to show you again that this is the 42 inches high railing. So also you can see very clear that the window is very high. So if you are inside, it's very difficult to see to our neighbor. Okay. Next one, please. Okay, and of course, the idea to do just 280 square feet is to try to also leave like a part of an exterior terrace. So we don't want to build the entire second floor in this area. Next one, please. And next one. Here we don't have the more details about the windows, but well, this is the existing the proposed terrace that we are keeping, and the windows it's located in this area. Okay. Next one, please. And also this is this is just a tree survey. We're not touching, we're not modifying any of the exterior of the house. Right, so the addition is only at the second floor. I think that's all.
Thank you, Gonzalo.
Thank you.
May I open it now to the public for comment? Anyone you wish to speak, put your hand up. Little delay. Okay, I see no one. I'm closing the public portion and turning it over to the board for comment. Jason?
Thank you, Jim.
Jason?
Thank you, Gonzalo, for that presentation. James, just to clarify, just one quick thing for me. So in a lot like this, where you kind of have a corner, you have a side, you have a, like, there's always going to be a rear, what's considered the rear of the property, right? So in this case, even though the orientation of the property and obviously the top of the the top of the plan is a side, this side is considered the rear, basically, because the way the streets are laid out.
That's correct. And
Okay.
because of the distinction on how we assign what is the front, regardless of where the front door is or where a postal carrier delivers mail, for zoning purposes, Pine Tree Drive is determined to be the front. Therefore, the rear, as you said, they're always going to have one, is that shared property line. And here we have a geometric condition that kind of substantiates the variance justification.
Okay. I want to thank the applicant and the homeowners, obviously, for preserving their pre-1942 home. It looks like it's a very well-maintained home. As most of the board know, and people watching, I'm not always in favor of variances for setbacks and lot coverage, but for this project, I support this small 200 square foot addition on top of the garage. Obviously, it's something that the homeowner kind of wants for their, so they can stay there. I think I appreciate the higher window on the rear setback. I guess that's something maybe staff had talked to you about, so it won't maybe interrupt the privacy. And as long as the exterior of the addition is in line with the overall aesthetic of the rest of the home, which it looks like you are doing. I mean, we don't have any renderings, but then I fully support the motion, the application as submitted.
I'm sorry, Marsh?
Good morning, Gonzalo. James, Gonzalo, have you spoken to the neighbors to the west? And are there any letters of on record from any neighbors? And this has been noticed?
So good question. This property, the formal determination process requires we refer to it as kind of DRB light, meaning it requires an application to be filed with us. It requires an application to be posted, that property. It also sends out mailing notice, the same restrictions as a DRB application, 375 feet. So those neighbors got hit twice. They got alerted to the formal determination, and me and my staff answered many questions and concerns by the neighbors. When the neighbors were explained to that this is a step towards the retention of keeping that existing property, they were very, very relieved. And then when that second notice went out for now the variance application, we again fielded questions that this is for a small second floor addition, and we received no formal objection from any neighbors, but we did receive a lot of calls about it.
I would only ask, because clearly I agree with the intent of keeping the pre-42 buildings, especially this one, which has a nice high finish floor. That's great. So I applaud you, Gonzalo, for moving in that direction. But adjacent use to the west, that's the neighbor's pool. So I would only ask that the architect and the design team and the client make sure that they are working with that neighbor. And if that neighbor, I'm not sure how to do this or if it's possible, but if there's some screening planting that could go in there in the future to help diminish the visual intrusion from the terrace down into the pool, that would be great. James,
okay.
Marsh,
are you recommending it possibly be planted on not only the owner's property, but the adjacent property?
It would have to be on the adjacent property. So as much as I think it would be a contribution to the neighbor's landscaping should they request it. I don't know how to do that or if that's possible, but.
Right. James?
Yeah, I'm sure Nick can weigh in on this too. No, that's not going to be part of the record, tasking the applicant to build onto the neighboring property. Mind you, Marsh, this addition would be less impactful than an outdoor terrace that can allow people to stand on the terrace and already view down. So it's actually a decrease of the privacy.
Well, and I think architecturally, the windows being high and that was really the driving force behind that, I would suspect, is to provide and maintain privacy to the western property.
Yes, and in terms of any landscaping, they're not going to be able to plant any landscaping in that non-conforming setback because of a utility easement.
It would have to be on the neighbor's property. The neighbor may or may not want it. I just think, and maybe this is just a good neighbor and a community thing. As you said, nothing can go in the order, but just something to consider. Right. Clearly, I think this homeowner being able to utilize their property to its highest and best use is important. But in doing so, we also need to make sure that we're not compromising the privacy and highest and best use of our neighbors.
Okay. Thank you. We have another hand up here. It's Jason. Nope.
I would make a motion to approve.
Well, sorry, Marsh. Sam wanted to make a comment. Sam?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I support the variance application for the reasons set forth in the staff report and as articulated by James.
Thank you. Marsh, motion?
I would move to approve the variances presented by the applicant.
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Mr. Sheldon in the rockin' Atari shirt. I'm going to do a roll call. Mr. Hagopian?
Yes.
Mr. Diffenderfer?
Yes.
Ms. Giller Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Steffens?
Yes.
Mr. Kriplin?
Yes.
And Mr. Bodnar?
Yes.
Congratulations, project's approved 7-0.
Thank you, everyone.
Hey, I didn't get a chance to, but I am a yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, wow, I was doing so good. Sorry about that, Sam.
Not at all.
Project is approved.
Good, Gonzalo.
So,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
so we were going to add to the agenda appointing a vice chair.
James, to today's agenda or to next month's agenda?
I think Jim suggested that.
I'd like to do it today.
Sure.
Is that okay, Nick?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. What do we do? Ask for volunteers?
The way we normally do it is we ask the board if any members would like to nominate another member or nominate him or herself, and then we ask. I mean, normally we would do a paper ballot and then read them out, but since we're meeting over Zoom, we could have each board member state who they wish to vote for. After we've asked for nominations. So the first round would be to ask for nominations.
Okay, let's proceed then. James, do you want to call it like a vote of the other 5 members, 6 members, 5 members? I'm assuming
Sure.
Marsh isn't voting.
No, but I can nominate somebody.
You could.
Would you like to?
Sure.
I would.
Okay.
I would like to nominate Sarah.
Okay.
So we have a nomination for Sarah. Are there any other board members who would like to nominate him or herself or a fellow board member?
No.
Okay, so all in favor of appointing Sarah Giller Nelson as the vice chair, Mr. Sheldon?
Does she have
Yes.
the nomination?
She has to accept, right?
Please.
I accept. Thank you.
Okay, great. So Mr. Sheldon is
A yes.
yay. Okay, Mr. Hagopian,
Yes.
Mr. Diffenderfer,
Yes.
Mr. Steffens,
Yes.
Mr. Kriplin,
He's
Yeah.
gone already.
Mr. Kriplin,
I was having second thoughts, but yes.
Mr. Bodnar,
Yes.
and Nick, does Sarah vote?
Yes, she does.
And Ms. Giller Nelson.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
So Sarah, should Mr. Bodnar not be in attendance, you'll be running the meeting. When we're aware of his absenteeism, we'll speak to go through an agenda review so that you're comfortable. And then if Jim were ever to want to make a motion himself, he would pass the gavel to you.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It's quite taxing. It's quite.
It is. It is. It's a long slog.
Well, I still have your contact info, Marsh. So, you know, I'll register any complaints. You know, you got me here.
That phone number is disconnected.
Well, Marsh, thank you so much.
Yeah,
We're just
I think everyone on this board could probably stand up and give a big speech and thank you to Marsh for all that he's done and contributed. It's been wonderful. You'll be missed. No one could replace you. And above all, we're very happy to have met you and become a friend.
Well, I echo that, guys, and I have really enjoyed this. It is unfortunate that it has become sort of untenable professionally, because I appreciate all of your inputs. I have appreciated, as you have mentioned, Jim, the friendships that have developed through this, and I look forward to, at the very least, those friendships growing as we all get older and wiser, wear fewer masks. So it's been great. The new board members, I've been super happy to have you guys on board as well. I think it's a really, really strong board. You know, and I can't say enough about Sam, who's always got my back with seconding motions as we have moved through the processes. So it's been wonderful. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, Marsh. Likewise.
Well, Marsh, when you come in front of us now with projects, we're going to hold you to a real high standard. So,
yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
As this board knows, this is probably the most challenging position to fill because of the membership composition in the code is so specific that it has to be the registered landscape architect. Hopefully, having the virtual meetings at least may open up that qualifying pool of candidates. Marsh, thank you for the contact you gave me. I've already reached out to someone. Of course, staff doesn't make the appointee that is done through the city commission. So if any of you know any colleagues or people that would be qualified, please, I encourage you to reach out to the city clerk's office to get the information. Because again, in my tenure here, this is the most challenging position to fill because it is so limited. And I think there's only been one landscape architect that actually filled the full commitment tenure of 6 years. Marsh, prior to you, we had Dina Bell, who also conflicted out. So anyway, thank you again, Marsh. Great getting to know you, really.
You are welcome, and thank you, James. It's been a real pleasure for all you guys. I can't guarantee you that I will be online watching the next meetings, but I may tune in from time to time.
As a caller, I hope. Okay.
Listener, first time caller.
All right, and with that, a friendly reminder that the next meeting is September 1st. And with that, Nick, anything you'd like to add?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Marsh, for your service. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I guess with that, I would move to adjourn.
Okay, so second by Sam, of course. Great. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Enjoy the day.
Take care, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.